no takers, fella, as we gather here today to join Carlos and Gabby in a holy matrimony. And this is surely to be the happiest day of their life in Black Rock City, the happiest place on earth. And now, by the power vaguely vested in me, I now pronounce you man and wife. You may kiss the bride. Everyone may kiss.
I'm so happy to be here, and thank you so everyone to be here with us. This is a very special moment. Thank you.
Benedictus ventris tui, Jesus.
Oh la la, okie dokie.
The burning just serves as a beacon to bring people to ask, what's going on? What is this? What matters is everybody that got together to build it. People came together that had never met each other, that didn't know they were artists, but they wanted to be involved in something like this that sounded fun. When we collaborate on things to build things that are art, whether they burn or not isn't that important, although if they burn, it creates an opportunity for us to have to do it again.
Test, test, hello, hello. How are y'all? This is David Silverman, talking to you from Burning Man 2012. The weather forecast here at Black Rock City, blue skies, light wind, and apparently low dust. So far.
My name is Chris.
Okay, Chris. And how do you like it?
This is Burning Man ass whipping action. Here we go. Boom. Okay, no, really, 11, please.
Are you filming this?
Yeah! Oh!
I would say there are principles that underlie this experience that help create the structure upon which we all interact with each other while we're here. Leave no trace. We don't leave garbage anywhere. There are no garbage cans anywhere. Everybody takes their garbage with them. Participation. That you're active in this in some way. You participate in it. Self-reliance. You don't rely on anybody else to do it for you. That you are expressing yourself. And you really not just participate, but you really look to see what is it that you can do that expresses something from inside of you. Communal effort. We work together. Civic responsibility. That we understand this is a city and we have an effect on each other. Immediacy. That to keep things in front of us and value what's happening now. the non-commodification, and so that we don't allow commercial transactions to define our relationships while we're here. That our relationships become something much more meaningful, because we interact now as people, not as consumers and vendors.
So are you ready? Or is it already on it? We've been filming everybody.
Yeah.
This is the interview. This is all how it should be. Oh, okay. That was the clap.
So the temple has been a feature of every Burning Man for the last at least dozen years, and it was part of the the original Burning Man was really trying to express that there, not to be caught up in possessions, to be really experience your life to a greater degree. This particular temple was designed by a man named David Best, and it is one of the most beautiful designs on the playa, and it's a very emotional place for people to come and to honor people that they've known, friends, lovers, family, pets, and it is a wonderful, wonderful experience. And there's a very reverential atmosphere inside of here, and it really is sort of a kind of a place of peace and quiet on the playa, so people can come and get their thoughts together. And it's obviously just exploded. It's become very, very popular because it's just covered with writings and pictures that are posted, and very strong emotions that are expressed about lost loved ones, and everybody, I think, comes out of here very moved by the experience. There's just so many stories here. If you were a novelist, you could come in here. All the material you ever need is sitting right in this little area. This is the story in the newspapers of his suicide. A local football hero and a star. It's a man whose life was destroyed in the war, and then who lived it out for several more years until he finally ended it. He couldn't measure up. And I've seen that's a very big feature of PTSD and what people live through. Here's the notes over here. See if I can find the star. Well, we are basically involved in preserving the history of the Burning Man. We have an extra arm from the man from 5 years ago that never got burned. There's people who are here just for, just sex, drugs, and rock and roll, right? And there's other people, or in this case, tech music. There are other people who are here for a really valid reason, just to kind of see an interchange. And you can go up to almost anybody and start talking, and people really have this sense of just opening up and just expressing their feeling and emotion.
Being in a space like this makes me feel very interconnected with people on an emotional level, which is something I think is valuable in my life. That was the end of my, religion, having a bar mitzvah. And I don't even know exactly why I had it. And then, I never felt religious until I think I started taking psychedelics when I was like 18 or 19, and that brought a sense of spirituality into my life that I had never experienced before, that there was something greater than myself, and that there was an interconnectedness and an impermanence to life. Yeah, I think going inside just explains why. You go in there and you see everybody's energy just, put it right out there. It's like wearing your emotion on your sleeve and then letting your jacket on fire.
Emotional jacket.
Yeah, emotional jacket, yeah.
My name is George Post. Out here at Burning Man, I go by my playa name, which is Jorge de la Playa. And I really, I guess, started because people started calling me Jorge, and so it just seemed to fit. I've always thought I must have been Spanish in a past life. What the temple represents is, a way of ritualizing our sense of loss. The things that people write in the temple, the artifacts that they affix to the walls of lost loved ones. When the temple burns, all that is sent heavenward, and It's good. It's unifying. And I'm choking up just thinking about it. I put a T-shirt of my mom's in the temple. She passed in July. And I obviously have not dealt with it yet as well as I thought. Okay, so as I was saying, the temple has added a real spiritual dimension to all of this.
And here at Burning Man, in a collective way, we glimpse what a future America would look like. An America where people aren't afraid of their own creativity, where they're not afraid of their own sexuality. But here, for this brief moment in the desert, we're all equal. Here at Burning Man and in the Occupy movement, we see a glimpse of what the future America could look like, what the future state could look like. But that depends on the basic principles. There has to be equality of income to a degree where people aren't so separated that they live dramatically different lives and avoid each other, where the rich are segregated in their wealth and the poor are isolated in their poverty.
300 years ago, nobody talked about human rights, really. Now we look back on that and we say, oh, how primitive. And I believe at some point in the future, we'll look back on today and say, oh, capitalism without values? Oh, how primitive. And I think we're at an inflection point where that's changing dramatically.
So these are the basic principles, and you see them at Burning Man and you see them at Occupy Wall Street. You are the evidence of what a future state could look like. You being here, being creative and being open, you are the citizens of the future state that hasn't appeared yet. So when you go out, back into the default world, all I'm asking for you to do is, on a personal level, take one secret, one lie, and burn it openly. On a public level, stop watching these bullshit apocalypse films. Stop watching these bullshit apocalypse TV shows, because that's conservative, reactionary ideology in the form of Hollywood. They're telling you that the future is horrible, that we're not going to have enough food, we're not going to have enough energy, we're not going to have enough, we're not going to have enough, we're not going to have enough, and everyone's going to be fighting like dogs. We have enough. There's enough food to feed everyone on the planet. It's about distribution. There's enough energy coming from the sun in one day to light all of human civilization for centuries. We have enough. It's just the ideology is a castle surrounding our minds and we're trapped inside of its darkness. Bust through the castle, bust through those walls, and realize that you are the evidence of the future state. You are the citizens of this future state. And we already have enough. We don't have to believe in an apocalypse, but we can believe in a utopia. And the utopia is right here. And that means more than voting for Obama. It means more than voting for Obama. All right, thank you.
So it had to be out in an area like this, which has, precious little, ecology, really. You can do whatever you want. That's why you can blow things up here, because there's not much vegetation around here. In fact, there's none. No wildlife around, except for some dormant shrimp that hide under the reaches of the desert, and so.
Can you guys give us an example of a recent success that, something that activism has done that has effectuated a positive change?
Well, I've just spent the last 11 months and 3 weeks or whatever it is absolutely blown away by the Occupy movement. A very specific example of why I feel like Occupy is really changing things. For the last few years, we've done this action about once a year in San Francisco. We call it the Banks March of Shame. We've been doing it 5 or 6 years. On a good year, 50 people have been showing up. November the 5th last year, which was also christened Bank Transfer Day, we had 10,000 people marching through the streets of San Francisco on that march. And that is the impact of Occupy.
More important to me than feeling good about what I've done and having hope necessarily. The reward doesn't come from success. I mean, for me, the reward comes from a community. It comes from being with people and doing something together and saying, like, we have values and we're going to fight for them until we fucking die. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's what gives me hope and strength.
Yes, so we had a good prop, right? Groucho Marx always thought the cigar was a good prop. Helped him think about it. Right?
There are 50,000 people, and people are used to having their modern technologies, from their cell phones to the lighting, refrigeration, computers, to being able to move around on electrified bicycles or electric vehicles, or their cars. And all of these things can be done with electricity. This was a great venue, and one of the reasons that I like to come here with solar is because we can show how effectively we can actually operate using solar energy.
The modules are all tied together in series or strings, and they combine and combine at these combiner boxes. These are 48-volt batteries. The batteries are actually used for forklifts. So the solar energy, the DC power, the direct current, comes down into these batteries. Then out of these batteries, it goes into this trailer. Inside the trailer is a bank of inverters, and that's changing the 48-volt DC into usable sine wave power, the type that you would just plug something into your home. Then it's coming off from different lines out to multiple distribution boxes all over the camp. It's amazing what people will do. We found someone a few years back. We've had a really heavy power draw, and we can see it in here. We're like, what's going on? Where's all the power? And someone had a small air conditioning unit inside a tent. That's a very simple version of how this works. That's a very simple version of how this works. We go to homes, small homes that I'm getting ready to install solar on, and they have these huge bills, and they go, well, I need this giant solar system. And I said, no, you don't. You need to turn these lights off.
In spite of our bad reputation as being mindless consumers, in California, the per capita consumption of electricity has actually dropped. And again, I would be the one who talks policy and say that more efficient appliances and an emphasis on more efficient lighting has led the parade.
We don't have to have a massive trailer-pulled diesel generator to run a village of 500 people. Well, we've got here one refrigerator, two refrigerator, deep freezer, another. That's just us.
As a baby boomer, I am part of the first generation in human history whose lifespan has been touched by three ages. I was born in the industrial age, I matriculated through the information age, and now I'm in the shift age. We're in the global stage of human evolution, the flow to global. The second flow is the flow to the individual. And this has occurred, at least in the developed countries of the world, because of the explosion of choice that we have today. We as individuals are more powerful than individuals have ever been before. A few days ago or a week ago, when you had telephone connectivity, and you would call somebody on the phone, and you would say to them, "Hey, how you doing? Can you hear me okay?" What's one of the next questions you might ask somebody, cell phone to cell phone? Anybody?
Where are you?
That's why I always ask. I always get the right answer, right? So there's no time, distance, or place any longer limiting human communication. So remember, place started 10,000 years ago with the agricultural age. And now for the very first time, part of the human experience has become placeless. That's a pretty profound concept if you think about it. We are the first people. In the last few years, humanity for the first time has been able to remove place from communication. So we are moving into placelessness. We're in the global stage of human evolution. So I consider myself a global citizen. And when I come to Burning Man, and I'm a virgin, when I come here, I feel that, right? And one of the reasons I feel it is that we're not stuck in our place, we're not stuck in our ego, we're not stuck in our forward momentum. As everyone has come here, you've opened yourself up, you've awakened, you're more conscious. And that's really where we're going. So.
Hello?
It goes there, and then it might the microphone for you to be gone under it.
So I salute you having come here and figured out this is the step that you need to take. Your job here in the playa is to pass on what you learned, what you experienced, and who you are to the rest of the world, because they really have no clue. You know this. You know when you go out there and say Burning Man and they have no idea what you're talking about. You know that you see in a way of life into the future. You are in the future when you are here. When you go out there, you're meant to pass it on and spread it so that the world looks like this eventually, a place of love and honor and caring and trust. This is how mankind is meant to be. These are the lessons that you're learning as a planet, and that you're here is a step on that path. It's a powerful one. I do honor you for taking this step. Namaste. Cool, huh? Alright, so let me tell you a little bit about channeling.
It seemed funny, right? Dr. Moying, that's funny.
So how interesting that we would have a mushroom that would stimulate and enhance the immune system. We have mushrooms that which would have anti-tubercular properties. And Mycobacterium is a bacterium, and that causes tuberculosis. This has antiviral properties. The reishi mushrooms have strong anti-inflammatory properties. And so when you look at these mushrooms, they have antiviral, antibacterial, immunopotentiating. They have anti-angiogenesis properties, which means it restricts the blood vessels that's feeding cancer cells selectively. It selectively causes apoptosis, which is programmed cell death of cancer cells without causing collateral damage to healthy cells. It has all these properties. What drug does that?
I called up the museum saying, what is this little figure holding? And the curator said, well, we don't really know. There's been a subject of debate. We just really don't know what it is. It might be a piece of fruit or something. Have you looked underneath this little cap? And she goes, well, it's right here. I'll look at it. Well, tell me if you see what you see underneath it. She goes, oh, there's a bunch of ridges. I said, have you ever thought that he's holding a mushroom? Dead silence on the phone. This is my first attempt to grow Laska-Hennessy cubensis and a little pressure cooker here, which was a total disaster. I grew millions of flies instead, but such as it goes. So I want to dedicate this talk to Terrence McKenna, our good friend. And Terrence and Dusty and I became very close the last 5 years of his life. Burning Man here is a combination of the profound and the profane. I actually find about 2% of the things that I see here profane. But if that small 2% is the expense of inspiring creativity for the 98% that gives me great pleasure and joy, that's a small cost to pay.
The Burning Band showed up, just started playing. I ran away. Where's he going? You know, I came back with a tuba and I joined right in, and they were so delighted because that year they didn't have any low brass player. People always ask me, where did you get the idea? How did you come up with the idea? And I was like, that's obvious, right? Tuba, fire, come on. That's why it's always good to wear a hat when you play the flaming tuba. The point is my musical growth on the tuba has expanded and it's kind of coincided with my going to Burning Man, so I see them as related somehow. So.
The popularity of this event, the popularity of Figment, really demonstrate the insatiable appetite people have to actually have culture that is meaningful, that is not defined by the commercial default world.
I came here just because I wanted to see this. I thought, you know, from the whole hippie era and everything else in San Francisco, this is like the logical extension. But this is going into its own next phase. No one knows where it's going, but that's the journey is the reward. Right?
This is my 22nd time. I've come back year after year after year to experience this madness for myself and to take photographs. There was this convergence of art and fire and, you know, extreme desert camping that I just really fell in love with.
So I was intrigued by the canvas, I was intrigued by the art, I was intrigued by the, you know, the whole culture and the sort of the feeling of complete freedom. Burning Man is really a personal thing and you can make of it what you want. That's the great thing about this. You never know what it's going to lead to. Thank you very much.